Hey guys, welcome to Dan Does Disney, back with Merlin.
Hello.
For this episode, we missed you a couple times ago with Reluctant Dragon.
Oh yeah.
But and you'll be gone for the next few.
Yeah.
The music, you don't care for the music.
Well, not necessarily the music, but the ones that are primarily music based.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You're not digging.
I guess not.
You like the ones with songs in it.
Look, I like the ones that are the major Disney films
right.
that most people can talk about. That I know about, like Bambi.
Here's one.
This one.
So we're going to talk about Bambi today. This is next in line in the Disney filmography. The fifth animated release, I guess, if people are counting Reluctant Dragon as one, which I don't think they do.
This is what I'm talking
about. But the
about.
Wikipedia page says the fifth animated film, and I said, well, all right.
Not to get too sidetracked, because this is the point.
There's a few technical things, I think, with the whole Disney list.
Yeah, when you're going through like the releases, would these other musical ones that I might skip over be included?
Yes,
they are.
Those are included in the 50.
They're considered official.
At this point, 59 or whatever it is.
Okay.
60.
Okay.
So you might join for that, but I don't think so, personally. I think maybe the Donald Duck one, the Three Caballeros. That's next.
I'll be honest,
I believe.
that one I might check.
I watched that in Spanish class. Anyway, we're not here to talk about any of that
yet.
We're here to talk about Bambi, which this is the version I have that we'll be discussing in more detail. The 2011 edition, 2 discs. Tons of new bonus features on here that were never on any other releases.
Oh.
So we'll talk about that.
Disney secrets.
And that year it was the first time it was on Blu-ray as well. So that's not how I have it, but
it's a nice case.
It's a very nice case, a slip case, and of course the 2 discs in there. So here we are at 1942 now. Smack dab in the middle of World War II.
Yeah, that one.
So, as we do usually on Dan Does Disney, I'm going to sort of talk about the history of the film and then throw it to you really for the synopsis and the first part of the review, and then we go back and forth with that, and then we close with the features on the DVD or Blu-ray edition. So
let's go.
Lots of things to discuss. So here we are in World War II. Now you'll remember from Dumbo that Walt had been losing money because the foreign markets were cut off from him because of the war. This one actually opened in London as well as America. So we did get a little bit of international success there. And because of that, Walt almost broke even on this one. Almost, we gotta say. It still wasn't a home run.
So wait a minute. You're telling me that with some of these big classic Disney movies like Dumbo or Bambi, they were technically failures on
what's called money losers. Yeah, big bombs.
Interesting.
Fantasia specifically.
Yeah,
that had all the
was weird
the sound
for people.
stuff, the roadshow stuff.
That's interesting. That just goes to show like how much length it has over time, the staying power.
Well, and this is why these movies are considered classics today.
Yeah.
Because of all the re-releases, and each generation was brought anew to these movies, and so in the meantime, he was making money from the shorts. The shorts were still making money. You put them at the beginning of a movie. And then the Reluctant Dragon, he made about 150% of the profits on that.
Okay.
So that was a little bit of a money winner. Not huge because it didn't cost that much to make, but still it was some profit for the studio. And Snow White was such a huge success that it's not like the studio was shuttering or anything, but while this was being made, there was, talk of layoffs within the company. And don't forget, we talked about this way back, probably when we talked about Pinocchio. This was supposed to be the second film.
Oh, yeah.
And they were having a lot of trouble drawing the animals just right. So they shifted gears a little bit, and so it got shelved until years later.
And which, you're right, bringing that point up when we talk about the movie, that makes a lot of sense.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense.
So much so that he, by the end of the run of the artwork of this movie, had basically a zoo at the studio where he just had all these animals, so the animators could see them in their, I don't want to say natural habitat, but just how they move and how they interact with each other, and
that doesn't surprise
from
me
all angles
at all.
Classic Walt stuff.
When he wanted to do it right, he really goes out to make it the best product he can. He really seemed like what he did.
I mean, and to be honest, look, the guy probably had some problems.
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't? But Another more recent innovator that has some problems in the personality department comes to my mind, and that's James Cameron. James Cameron invented cameras for Avatar. James Cameron has done a lot for the industry in terms of just inventing new techniques and new styles, and Disney was the pioneer of that.
I mean, I don't want us to get too off point, but
let's not. But it's still our show.
I will. I will comment on that. You're right. There are definitely issues separating the man from the art they create sometimes.
Sure.
But yeah, as I was watching Bambi, I was kind of thinking like, this is kind of another example of really Disney being the name of animation, like the innovators. Like when that I have a lot of interest in anime and manga,
right?
And it shouldn't surprise you to know that a lot of those artists, that have kind of transferred their culture over to here with their cartoons, who were they inspired by?
Yes.
Bambi. They looked at these cartoons and said, this is what we want to do.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because
Weird,
when
right?
we get to when we get to the DVD features, I want to talk actually about Miyazaki for a second.
That is a perfect
so it's so funny that you say that.
Speaking of the other
Disney, you
Disney,
definitely caught on to that.
Well, it's just
that style
when
and everything.
I was watching, obviously the history I'm always fascinated by the history of anime, and it's like the inspiration literally comes from Pinocchio, Bambi, even down to the designs of the faces and the animals, and trying to get the fluidity of movement. Like,
and this is what he did.
That's what Disney did.
This is what him and his animators excelled at, and that's why it took years to make these projects.
Mm-hmm.
So in the midst of this, you did have the animators strike, which we talked about a little bit last time with Dumbo. This took years to make, longer than any of his previous works, and it was also the most recent, quote unquote story. The story of Snow White had been around for a couple of centuries. Pinocchio. But here, Bambi was the book, which was originally an Austrian book, was only written in the 1920s.
Oh.
Purchased originally by MGM. They wanted to do a live-action version with, I guess, real animals, and, CGI didn't exist. So
animatronics and stuff.
After a few years, they realized, well, we're probably not going to be able to do this.
That would have been tough in 1942.
Yeah, and this was in, I think, 1935 is when MGM bought it. It was before Wizard of Oz even had come out.
Though, I wonder if there's a universe where that exists, because I would like to see that.
Interesting. It would be interesting.
That would be interesting.
So they sold the rights then a couple years later to Walt, and so this was in the works for about 4 or 5 years before it actually ever saw the light of day.
Live action.
But anyway, so it just went shy of earning a profit in its first release. But by this point, Walt had a nice stable of a few movies that he could release every so often. I don't know if that was always his thought, or if he just sort of realized, well, nothing like home video existed, obviously, at the time. TV wasn't even invented yet. So this was released again in 1947.
Maybe when more people
screen went away here.
Going to the movies.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, because the war was over. So people that maybe couldn't take their kids to see it earlier, because money was tight, or their dad was at the war or whatever.
Maybe they could now.
Yeah, so it finally turned a profit then, and has gone on as many of these as one of the biggest money makers of all time.
Huh.
So the other thing with this is the first. I guess we'll get to the home video stuff later, but this was the first beta. Remember VHS and beta?
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the few films that was actually from Disney put on beta, because a lot of his movies didn't come out until the 90s on home video.
That's true.
So it was released again in 1947. That's when it turned a profit. 1957, 1966, 1975, 1982, which is when I saw it, and 1988. And then it started coming out on the home market after that.
Which is how I would have been introduced to it, because I once again had the VHS Bambi.
Now, this was the first movie I ever saw in theaters.
Ooh.
Which I remembered being younger. I remember being like 2. In 1982, I would have been 4, about to turn 5. So, pretty close, I guess. But I remembered being a little younger. But this was the first movie I ever saw in the theaters.
Cool.
And I will tell you what.
What?
Until today, I'm not sure if I've ever seen it since. This is not one that we had on the shelf growing up. And we didn't see it when it came back out in '88. So I don't know if I've ever actually seen it in the last 35 or so years.
Wow. So it's kind of like all new for you.
So this was, it really was. I mean, it was so much so that I thought Bambi's mom died like at the end of the movie. It comes about a half hour until the end.
Yeah.
And in a 70-minute movie, that's almost the halfway mark.
They tricked me too.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen.
Didn't that surprise you?
I hadn't seen it in a long time.
Yeah.
I had it on VHS, but as you know, with some of these early Disneys, I watched it a few times, but I didn't remember a lot of it.
Right.
So yeah, when I was watching it, I expected Bambi's mom, the first time that they're being hunted, that she's going to get shot. Then she makes it that time.
She makes it.
And the next time,
right.
Maybe not so much.
But that's not what happens.
No,
which was quite the surprise.
I was really surprised.
Yeah. So originally, they were going to do sort of a Seven Dwarfs type thing, and have these 6 rabbits, the rabbits that we see at the beginning of the show.
Okay.
And then Walt was like, you know what? Let's just strip it down, make it about Bambi, the mom, Thumper, and Flower. And Thumper can sort of be the mouthpiece for the rabbits, but let's kind of leave them at the background. So really the whole concept sort of changed from that. And he had also debated whether or not to kill the mother. Because the book was for adults, you see.
Was it?
It's an adult book.
That I can oddly see.
So there were some internal issues with that. His daughter was very upset that he killed Bambi, and he said, well, this is what they did in the book.
It's the classic Disney legacy again.
Correct.
How dark can we go?
How dark can we go?
Which I have some things to say.
So yeah, at the time,
Killer!
a bit mixed with critics and audiences.
Could that be because of the content?
I think it was a little strong for some people, especially during the war.
For some kid, yeah, the mood.
You know, the mood was not
the happiest.
The happiest,
actually.
But it did get a little bit of love from the Academy in the score department, which we'll talk about that. And best sound.
Oh yeah.
Sound. They didn't have like sound mixing at the time. It was just called best sound.
But they're good recording. Yeah.
And then best song for "Love Is a Song," which I think plays over the end credits. I don't think it's in the movie necessarily.
Maybe
because the movie's mostly score. It's not like Bambi busts into song and dance routine.
I was kept expecting that, but no, there aren't really. It is mostly instrumental.
But now, obviously, very widely regarded. When AFI did their their best animated films of all time, it landed in the top 5.
Wow.
I think at number 3 or 4. And it's, Library of Congress has it. They've picked it as one of their top movies there. So, what was it? Bambi placed 3rd in the animation category. And the top animated movies of all time.
They said
it placed number 3.
Number 3.
Snow White was number 1. And if I remember the list correctly, I think Pinocchio was 2.
Wow, they got some love for early Disney.
They got a lot of early Disney in there. For me, I might go a little bit differently on it.
Well,
I can see Snow White at number 1, though. That would make sense.
If you got to be all encompassing, maybe, but those probably wouldn't be my top.
I think
I respect that. I respect those choices, though.
I agree. They're all, you can't go wrong with those early Disney choices.
No.
So anyway, they really started, production in '39. And then sort of was working on this at the same time as Pinocchio, Reluctant Dragon, and Dumbo.
Juggling a lot.
And striking at the same time. Picketing and, going back and forth between the animation room and the picket line.
Behind-the-scenes drama.
Correct. So, I don't know. That's about it. I thought the zoo animals thing was very interesting, that he brought the live animals in.
Definitely.
Adapted from the book. I will say that there was 12 additional minutes that Walt wanted to produce for the film, because
Okay.
this is a little bit longer than some of the other ones. It's certainly longer than Dumbo.
70 minutes.
It's 70 minutes, so Dumbo was like 63 or
Dumbo
something.
was pretty short.
So he wanted to make this a bit longer than some of the others. But because of the financial losses, he decided, you know what, let's not spend the money and the extra time. It's already been, years in the making. Let's not produce these extra 12 minutes. And here we go with the 70-minute version. So some of the deleted content was discussed in the Blu-ray stuff.
Okay.
Some was sort of just shown like animation stills or storyboards, but really a lot of it, I think, I don't know what happened in it. You know what I mean?
We just don't know.
They showed probably about 3 or 4 minutes worth of material, but not 12.
Was it lost or destroyed or?
No, I'm sure it's probably in the archive somewhere.
They're saving it for another release,
but maybe another release down the line or
10
what
years
have
from
you.
now.
But so yeah, that's about the history of Bambi. So now we discuss the content and our reviews.
The actual piece.
The actual piece. So why don't you go ahead and talk about, first of all, the basic plot. Not too much here to really talk about.
You could almost argue that Bambi is almost plotless in the general sense, but at the same time, there is a lot of story. We open up and in the forest, and this is something I didn't pick up on because I forgot about it. Bambi is a deer, obviously, and he's the prince, the new prince of the forest, the future king, essentially. Completely forgot about that detail.
I forgot about that too. Yeah.
Which adds a whole element of magic to the thing.
I thought his dad was dead. And that's the horror of the mom getting shot.
Yeah,
is that now he's lost both of his parents.
I remembered the.
But I remember that completely wrong.
The buck in the distance, but I'm like, is that? I thought that was just like, some cool deer I have to aspire to be.
Right,
but
right.
We're getting ahead of ourselves a little. But
a little bit.
But so he's there's a sense of royalty. Everyone's greeting him, and you're introduced to his mother, obviously, and there's the little rabbit Thumper, who is, I want to say he's charming, but he's that kid that's he's a kid. He's a
kid.
He kind of speaks before he thinks.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, he says things the way they are when maybe he shouldn't. You've got Flower the skunk.
If you find that kind of thing cute, you'll like Thumper.
Which is kind of.
If you find it annoying, then you'll think it's annoying.
I thought it was a little grating, but
yeah.
but that's the point. He's still.
I think he's cute. I like Thumper.
He's cute. I can't hate him. He's a little rabbit.
Right.
But I can see he's that kind of kid. But you've got Flower the skunk, and basically
the wise owl.
I was gonna get to
I'm sorry.
Because I was gonna have you guess this. Okay.
Who's your favorite character?
My favorite character in the movie, and it's Friend Owl.
I would have absolutely guessed
but
that,
this
of course.
This is the thing. I forgot about Friend Owl.
I did too.
I was like, who? And this Owl, he comes back. He's like one of the main characters of the movie.
Yeah, once they get to the latter stages,
like he's
after Bambi's mom's death. Yeah,
I really like him. He's great. He's awesome.
Yeah.
But there's Friend Owl, and basically the movie really is just Bambi growing up.
Right.
He's born. He learns some things about the forest. He makes some friends. He has trouble walking. Learns to navigate around the forest. Mom says, "Here are the seasons. Stay with me. You'll learn some things." That's Man. Man comes in the forest. We got to go away. And then he encounters a female deer. He's nervous about it, and there's some of that. Bambi's mom tragically gets shot.
Yep.
Turns out his dad's still around.
Right. Turns out that wise.
The wise
old king that we met earlier is Bambi's dad.
I'm going to talk about this later, but this guy, we got a lot to unpack here. But this guy's there, doesn't really acknowledge exactly Bambi.
No.
Then comes back after the mom's dad. We'll get to that when we discuss this movie.
Okay.
Because it's interesting. And then basically he grows up, meets his friends again, learns about, from Friend Owl, the concept of love or whatever, mating, and his friends slowly befall to that, and then so does he. He has to fight for it because it turns out, as we hinted at earlier, the world's dangerous.
Right.
Not everything's nice. You got mean deer, you got hunters, you got dogs, you got fire.
Yes.
You got.
And now you have a rival in the love department.
The rival in the love department, but you get through it, and a new generation starts the cycle of life over again. And that's the movie.
Roll credits.
Roll credits.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the synopsis.
Okay.
I
Good
guess,
synopsis.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Would you like the review? Do you want to review it first? Whoa.
I have a lot of mixed feelings, actually, about this film.
Whoa.
Okay?
Whoa.
You may be surprised to learn. So, clearly, even if you've never heard of the film, clearly just from your synopsis, I would know that this was basically, essentially a man versus nature kind of thing. I mean, at its core, that's what it is.
I was going to ask you if you thought there might have been some kind of like environmental message in there.
And
somewhere?
this is clearly the first mainstream environmental film.
Hardcore.
I wouldn't say it's the first message movie, but it's certainly the first environmental message movie that I'm aware of.
It's pretty clear.
It's pretty clear. I mean, there have been other message movies before, but with
Disney
environmental
animation,
purposes, this would be the first. And we've seen it time and time again in our lifetimes with, Fern Gully and Avatar and all the things.
Common.
Very common. Now more than ever, with all the climate change stuff. So,
sure.
So now, what was it? Day After Tomorrow, classic Gyllenhaal.
Bambi, Day After Tomorrow.
One and the same.
Classics.
So, here we see that man is basically evil,
In the context of this movie,
in the context of this film, there's no question,
He's the antagonist.
And that's sort of where I get the gray area of the film. When AFI does all their lists, the American Film Institute, not the punk band, but they did the heroes and villains list. Man was number 20 on the villains list.
Only number 20, huh?
Yeah. Well, because, listen, when you think about the top villains of all time, you don't necessarily think Bambi.
Man.
But here we are.
I thought they literally named it was the hunter that killed Bambi's mom, is what people typically say, but you're going hard. They're saying man.
Because that's what they're showcasing here in the film. I mean, I think that the takeaway that most people have from Bambi, as witnessed by our memories, the hunter that killed the mom.
But it's a lot worse than that in the movie.
It's like 20 times what that is.
Yeah.
So, but that's what we took away as kids.
That's
and
just
I think
the beginning.
that's what a lot of people remember about this movie. But the whole movie is littered with, man is evil.
I'll be honest, the last,
all that.
10 minutes or so of the movie, when things get really hardcore, I don't remember any of it.
With the fire and stuff?
The fire, the dogs, the fighting.
I didn't remember any of that.
That gets really intense towards the end, actually.
Yeah, very intense. So I have some mixed feelings about that.
Okay.
Wow. That, maybe we can get into further. But, I don't know. Before we rolled tape, you said... I say roll tape like, it's in the 80s.
Roll digital.
But before I record on the video camera. Shut up.
I wish. I wish we had... I wish we could...
I wish we had an 8mm.
That'd be awesome.
But, okay. So, you had said to me that this might be one of the most surprising of our Disney reviews.
For me.
For you. And I'm wondering what you meant by that, because I actually went into this not knowing how you were going to feel about it. So I'm not sure if anything you say is going to necessarily surprise me with your review.
Okay.
I mean, I will tell you right now, of the ones that I have reviewed with you thus far, this is probably my lowest grade. I'll just say that right now.
Well, okay.
But why do you think I'll be surprised with your review of it?
Well, I remember last time we talked, you thought I might not like it as much.
Okay.
And I'll have to say, I guess I kind of agree with you. From the other movies we watched thus far, I do think this is my least favorite. Mm-hmm. But it's a lot better than I thought I was going to be.
Okay.
Because I remember as a kid, once again, not particularly liking it. I'm thinking, Bambi, rolling my eyes, this cutesy little thing.
The classic Merlin reaction whenever I bring up any old Disney movie.
Because my memories
other
of
than
them,
Snow White,
my mind either goes to thinking, okay, it's kind of like, I don't know, too kiddie, or maybe they were kind of disturbing for me as a little kid. So I
knew that was your issue with Pinocchio.
Like when I thought of Bambi, my recollection of watching as a kid, they weren't pleasant for me.
Right.
Like they weren't like the happy. Like I remember watching it and I guess, liking it, but like it didn't. Yeah. It wasn't one I kept going back to.
Okay.
And so I don't know. I kind of wonder why that is. And Bambi has some heavy stuff. So I guess the thing is, though, once again, as I was watching,
you were surprised again.
I was surprised again. I actually think though, even though it might technically be my least favorite of the ones we've watched so far, I think the animation might be its best because I was looking at the backdrops.
See, this is where I am on it. And we'll get into the special features later, but the features are probably about 2.5 times as long as the movie itself.
Nice.
So there's like 3.5 hours of content on the DVD, and I watched most of it. The sheer efforts that went into making this movie and all the different, like, again, we'll get into it more with the extra features, but it really opened my eyes to what a marvel this movie actually is. So I'm sort of like, remember how when we reviewed Boyhood on Film Fanatics, it was like, well, the movie itself is good.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's so innovative in every single thing that it does and accomplishes and how it was made, well, okay, cool. It bumps it up way higher. So I sort of have a mixed grade on this film that I land. My final grade's sort of somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
Because I think as a movie, like you mentioned, the plot is very basic.
Light.
It's light. It's, cycle of life kind of thing, like you said. Once Bambi's mom dies, and we get to the adult Bambi, Thumper, and Flower, it lost something for me.
That's where I thought it got pretty good.
Yeah, and I knew you would. But I like the cutesy stuff. Okay, you don't.
I liked it when it got kind of hardcore.
Right, you like it when it's a little heavier. So I have some mixed feelings about that. But I agree with what you just said. I think animation-wise, I think the film is a masterpiece in that regard.
Just the animation.
So, not to tip my hand yet at the grade, but so my grade's going to sort of lie somewhere in the middle of that. But I agree. I think this animation is, and it shows that it took so long to make the movie, and that they did so many extra things that had never been done before, and that he brought in the live animals for the animators to look at.
Yeah.
All of these extra steps that were taken come across like gangbusters on the screen. Because, visually, it's so stunning.
Like, I didn't care that much about the story because I just kept watching, and I wanted, okay. This is the compliment I have to give to Bambi.
Okay.
Just for the artistry of it, is that, that saying, every frame of painting?
Yes.
I wanted to keep pausing the movie because I kept looking at the bushes and the trees, looking at the details, and it kept going by, and I'm like, no, I want to pause it and examine it. And you could literally, I think this is one of those movies, you could pause any frame, put it on your wall.
It's a masterpiece.
It's beautiful.
It really is.
It's just
and that
beautiful.
Is something that we haven't seen yet in these films.
I don't think so. Not quite.
Not to this degree. And again with the special features, but one of the things that was sort of created for this movie and kind of the short that preceded it a few years earlier, at this stage in the game, Walt was basically, he had the Mickey shorts, those were the money makers, but then the Silly Symphony shorts had sort of turned into like the playground for Walt and the animators to experiment with new techniques and stuff. So the short that's included on the Bambi thing is called The Old Mill, which we'll talk about. But it sort of set the template for a lot of this stuff. In fact, the owl character is in it. But there's a multi-plane camera that was invented. And so the background and the foreground, I think I'll let you borrow this if you want to see, because the making of, I was definitely more fascinated with the making of this film than any of the others that came before. And maybe because they went into so much detail with it, but the background and the foreground and how they would move the one to make the other one stand out more and create this 3D effect long before
the forced perspective sort of thing.
Yes, and the multiplane camera did all that, and it was fascinating, and that's why the backgrounds look
They so sharp,
so lush and so
I was wondering
vibrant
how they did that.
above anything that you'd seen to that point.
It's like it was like shot at 2 different frames.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, more than 2.
More than 2.
More than 2.
Wow.
3 to 4
Oh,
different frames, and
to make it look like the density of the forest. That's crazy.
Yeah. So from that perspective, it's like, oh my God, like, yeah, I agree. So, can I say, well, I didn't care about the story? No, because you still have to have a story if you're going to do a movie. So that's where I'm sort of like, the story is basic. It's interesting.
Yeah.
The characters are great.
Yeah.
The main ones that they focus on are great. But is the story itself rather light? Yes. Is the whole, like, man versus nature thing very heavy-handed?
A little.
Yes.
A little bit.
And that was part of the big uproar as well, as, hunters groups and the NRA, and, was...
Well...
I don't know, the NRA specifically, but hunter groups and, people that are... in that vein, were totally up in arms with this, and oh my God, you can't show this.
I'm glad you're bringing it up, because I wanted to have a brief discussion about that, because, much like with Dumbo, talk a bit about the real world commentary of animal abuse. This kind of leans even more into that.
Yeah, more so, yeah, for sure.
Because, obviously, if you get into how hunting, okay, you have the right to, and it had served its purpose, but saying it's representative of all man being evil is an interesting idea.
Yeah.
But the hunter characters in this film are terrible. Because as hunters.
I agree.
Because, I'm not an expert on hunting, but I've been hunting before. You're going out there and you're shooting all animals at once, like just with no tendency.
I don't think that really is good.
Going after the does,
right?
And this is the
but
burning
nowadays, nowadays there's more regulations and all that kind of stuff. But
this might be at a time before there was much regulation, and it kind of speaks to that.
Probably.
So I think,
that and okay. So what do you think of this? So, one of the original thoughts was to actually show the hunters, because the whole movie is from Bambi's perspective. So, Bambi would have seen the hunters possibly, and then eventually Walt sort of reversed that and was like, no, I would rather not show anybody and have it be only the animals.
Great choice.
I agree.
Much scarier, because from the animals' perspective, they don't know what's going on. It's this thing, this thing that's just coming destroying their world. Makes man seem much more powerful and scary.
And see, that's where I'm like, I think it's a good choice for the like narratively, but I think it really makes it a little more irresponsible in that regard, saying, like, as a blanket statement, man is evil, and and it's like,
it's problematic.
It's a little problematic. I think. Listen,
I kind of like it.
I don't think people are. Listen, I people aren't the best.
Well, the people in this movie,
are like,
we're overdoing it a little bit.
Right. I think they become almost. I don't want to say caricatures, but I think they become so exaggerated.
Well, it's man, ironically, is a force of nature.
Yes.
And I'm just that scene that's terrifying is they unleash like a dozen dogs to like tear this deer apart.
It's too much. It's
like, is that really what's going on here?
It's as if the only humans in this movie are Mr. Burns.
Kind of.
You know what I mean? Like,
if Mr. Burns went out hunting, yes, I would destroy all the three
creatures.
When
he says release the hounds, like they really did.
Kind of
in this movie.
This is Mr. Burns hunting the forest. He'll destroy everything.
So as much as I like it as a narrative choice on Disney's part, I think it makes it a little too extreme.
Well, in that
regard.
That's an interesting point you bring up, because I think it speaks to one of the reasons why people like Disney villains, is though they are great icons of evil, they tend to be a little layered.
But the difference is, you take any movie, right? Like, whatever. My go-to is Cruella de Vil, because I think she's one of the great villains that gets overlooked a bit.
A little bit.
I think with all the Disney villains, there's only one or maybe two bad people. They're super, super, super evil. They're horrible, horrible people. But there's only one or two of them. Everyone else is nice. You know what I mean? Like, for the most part. I mean, it's a blanket statement.
I mean, you could argue that's problematic, too.
I mean, maybe that's problematic, too. But here, it's basically, if you, walk upright, you are the enemy, you're the problem, maybe, you're the worst.
Maybe it's the idea that, I don't know how well it's conveyed to the kids, is that, man has a responsibility to not do this.
Right, well, and I think that's my issue. Because the book was for adults, adults know that. Adults can pick up on that.
Kids might be like, oh no, why are we killing all the deer?
And think about it. So I watched this when I was 4. It obviously didn't, scar me or anything, but
you
never watched it in 35 more years. So obviously I didn't really cotton to it the way I did with some of the other early Disney movies.
Same.
Maybe that's why, I don't know.
Maybe.
Maybe because as a kid I was like,
it wasn't pleasant.
Man's the worst.
But
I don't know. It's hard to say what I thought that long ago. But
I don't know what it is, because, for instance, with Bambi, that's a movie where I feel like the whole mom dying thing, it's sad and there's some intensity. But I didn't gravitate to this movie too much, whereas some of the Don Bluth films, like Land Before Time, that movie's more depressing than Bambi.
Yeah, I think a lot of those movies are
Don Bluth's kind of depressing. The master of that.
You love some Bluth.
But I would go back to his movies time and time again.
Right.
So there's a bit of there's something, what the difference is, though?
Tell me.
With a Don Bluth movie like American Tail or Land Before Time, the characters are much more defined. The story's much more defined.
Yeah, I think there's a stronger story in many of those films than there is here. I think this story is threadbare, and I think, it's a classic story of good versus evil, man versus nature. It's
cycle life. There's
time and time again we've seen that.
I do want to not. I feel like we're putting it down a little.
Yeah.
But I did want to say, when I was going over the synopsis of the movie, that the thing I didn't pick up on as a kid, though, which I really did like, was the fact that this whole piece really was kind of the cycle of life. It literally is Bambi's life.
Right, which is pretty friggin' cool.
Which is really, it's subtle, but I'm like, this is like the stage, this is
innovative.
And innovative. And what I was thinking...
So you can't discount that.
With the score, which I know you want to get into, as I was listening to it, I was thinking, this movie, with its images and its music, could convey the story pretty much the same without any dialogue. And I was thinking... This is a Fantasia thing.
You can easily make this a silent movie.
I'm like, there's some Fantasia stuff going on here.
There are, somebody said this in one of the bonus features, but there are less than 1,000 words in this entire film.
It's very minimalistic dialogue.
It's very minimalistic dialogue. Just the only thing I wanted to say about the score is
it's great.
It's freaking phenomenal.
It's great.
I think that the specific pieces in Fantasia are more timeless because that's how we remember them. Nutcracker Suite. Remember when Deeps Taylor was like, I know none of you know what this is, but here it is, Nutcracker Suite.
Time is a funny thing.
Time is a funny thing. But
this obscure little thing, Nutcracker.
And at the time it was.
The conductor didn't think it was that great, but I want to play it anyway.
I liked it.
And now it's like, of course,
it's
everyone
one of the most classical pieces.
That's funny.
But yeah, the score for this is top notch. It is, I would say, right up there with Fantasia, if not maybe better. Fantasia was just so sort of piece by piece. This is a more cohesive
whole,
as a unit.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all I wanted to say about the score. That it's phenomenal.
I agree. That's pretty much.
I think it lends itself not only to the themes of the movie, but to the animation itself. I think it perfectly accentuates. I just love what's going on.
That thing where he matches the action, like the steps of the animals to the beat or the chord strike. Like it does a lot of that.
Pioneered that.
That's really
obviously.
Cool.
So. Yeah, that's all I want to say about the score, that it's just amazing, and I can see why it was nominated. Certainly one of my favorite things about the film.
Well,
So, I'm trying to think, is there anything else we haven't really touched on about the movie itself before we sort of get to the grades?
Who was your favorite character? I know they're not like the most defined, but of the main characters. I did like Friendell a lot, honestly.
Yeah, Friendell
probably the most defined character.
Is pretty legit. Like I can't deny that. When I was a kid, I always thought Thumper was super cute.
Not Flower? I thought everybody liked Flower the most.
Well, see, people sort of like Flower, and that's fine.
Flower.
But one of my good friends growing up had a sister named Bambi. I think her real name was Rebecca, but anyway, she went by Bambi.
Okay.
So one of his nicknames was Thumper. So I just always, associated Thumper with him. So I always thought Thumper was just a real cute character. But I would say, yeah, I mean, through and through, probably Friend Owl. I mean, like, how can you deny it?
I forgot completely about him, but I mean,
didn't know he existed.
He's the best.
But he is the best. Well, and he
kind of sews the whole thing together.
Essentially, the narrator.
He's the timeless one.
Right.
I'm there for when he was born.
Right.
I see the stuff going on when he's grown up. I'm here to see his kids. He's the
he's steady.
He's the consistent.
He's the consistent. Right.
He's Friend Owl.
Everybody else is different. So
you're right.
God, once they grew up, I agree. Their lives got more complex. And we, learn how love goes and how, man sucks again, with the fire.
But worse.
But worse this time.
But it worked out.
It worked out, but here's my thing.
Oh, no.
It sort of reminded me of, in Home Improvement when, the kids went through puberty and then in one season then they grew up and weren't funny anymore and weren't cute anymore. Tim Allen was still the same. There's Friend Owl.
Tim Allen's Friend Owl.
Tim Allen and
look,
Al Borland were the same.
I'm really glad you owe me some Home Improvement episode reviews. I'm glad we're bringing Home Improvement into this thing.
Home Improvement reviews
because he's right. Okay, Tim Allen is the only reason I like that show. Okay,
right.
And you're right. He's the one because it's the thing. The kids might not always been funny,
right?
But Tim Allen was always pretty good.
Tim Allen was always good. So Friend Owl sort of reminds me of that because once they came back from Bambi's mom being dead, and they're all grown up and they've got deep voices now. And first of all,
you're right.
That kind of bummed me out. Because I don't imagine adult animals having deep voices. I feel like my cats still have kitten voices if they were to talk, which probably isn't true. But, so that, just on a personal level, kind of freaked me out. I came back and was like, hey, guys.
I kind of liked that,
what's up, Friend Owl?
Because he's grown up.
I know.
It works.
I know, it does. It works.
To be honest.
Narratively, it works.
I think.
For me personally, it was a bummer.
They may not be as cute. I agree with you. But they grew up, so they're a little more defined now.
Yes, I agree. The narrative gets a lot better in the last.
I know you don't like it, Dan, but it did get a little more layered.
Yes, it did. It did. I can't deny that.
So. Hey, everybody, I'm Bambi.
How's it? It was like the Bam Bam Bambi from Saturday Night Live with The Rock.
Bam Bam Bambi. That skit was. But
that was a good skit.
Did you notice the characters? Is this supposed to take place in the South? Everyone has kind of Southern accents, sort of?
I believe so. I'm not sure if anything I read indicated that, but I mean,
I seem to get that vibe a little.
Yeah.
And also a little note, I guess I might not be alone on this, but I swear, when I was a kid, I thought Flower was a girl. I thought so.
I thought they were all girls.
I thought Bambi was...
I thought... Not Thumper. I knew Thumper was a boy. But yes, I thought Bambi was a girl for a while.
Hey,
everybody, it's me, Bambi. I'm like, what?
Well,
it was a little weird, Merlin. You have to admit. But I understand why they did it, and I get narratively it worked great.
Growing up, he's got a.
They're really
puberty.
showing us. So anyway, all right. Well, we want to do the grades now.
Sure.
Should we grade it?
I don't know if I'm going to grade it.
Yeah, I go back and forth on this. Here's my grade. I'll start with mine then, if you're not sure.
Yeah, help me out, because I'm not sure.
Again, there's two very complex grades that go into this.
You're conflicted.
So I'm just going to balance it out.
Okay.
I would say narratively.
Okay.
And for many of the reasons listed, the heavy-handedness, the exaggerated villain.
I kind of like the heavy-handedness and the exaggerated villain.
Listen, that's why, people like different things, and that's fine. So I would give that portion of the movie a B.
Okay.
However, I would give the visual component, the score, all of the sort of more behind-the-scenes stuff of this film, an A+. I mean, it's a masterpiece. Mm-hmm. There is, like you said, there's not one frame probably that wouldn't be considered a work of art.
Yeah.
Of this movie.
For real.
And I don't think I can say that Snow White was great visually for the first animated film ever, but I mean, this is like we gave Snow White A pluses, and we both sort of said it was with the caveat of like, well, look, it was the original animated film. It was amazing for its time, unthinkable, and Walt did it. But here, it's like in only 5 short years, it's like night and day. Well, so I give that an A plus. So I'm gonna leave the movie on the whole with an A minus.
Okay.
I think visually it is perhaps unmatched, and we'll see with the remaining 50 Disney movies. But I mean, it's amazing. But I think it lacks narratively.
It definitely lacks.
And that's a huge part of a movie. So I have to leave it with an A minus.
The story is a bit light, and I think that's actually what held me back, because I kept thinking, I really want to say this is about on the same level as the rest of them. But honestly, even Snow White, which was kind of light, I think had a little better of a story.
Yeah.
Better characters.
I agree.
To be honest. I mean, I feel like I'm being harsh, but true.
But it's true.
And even Pinocchio and Dumbo. Like, watching Dumbo, the story of Dumbo...
It really opened my eyes when we watched Dumbo
like Dumbo, I was like, the story was... Do you want to talk about hard hitting? I think...
Yes.
I was like, well,
I agree.
Bambi's not quite on narratively on that level.
No, absolutely not.
But the animation is great. So honestly, your grade makes me feel better, because A minus was what I was thinking.
Were you gonna give it a D?
I was gonna give Bambi an old B, which would be like astronomical.
Bambi.
What?
Yeah.
Give Bambi a B.
You know what's interesting is I like to go on Rotten Tomatoes to see kind of what people are thinking. I don't look at their specific reviews, but I like to look at the tomato meter just to see because most of the Disney movies are like 100%, the early ones.
98, 99.
This is a 90%. So
90?
there are some Bambi detractors out there, and I thought that kind of makes sense.
What was the popcorn like? Do you remember?
Okay,
let's do general audience.
I don't know if they had a popcorn for this because it's so old.
Really?
Because the reviews were mostly taken from the version I have, the 2011 Blu-ray.
Oh.
So they were grading from that perspective.
Okay.
So maybe there is a popcorn. I just didn't look. I don't know.
But so of the echelon, this one has some detractors.
Yeah. And I can see why, because narratively it's not all there, but...
It's a little weak.
Any reviewer with half a brain should be able to see that the visual component is literally second to none.
I think the way we do it works pretty well. We do look at the context of the movie at the time.
You have to. I think you have to.
Compared to all the movies about 1942, how many things were better than this? Especially in animation, nothing. So,
nothing.
Give it a little bit of slack.
So you're in that A minus camp as well, you think?
A minus is what I was come with, because I can't give every Disney movie an A, Dan. It's got to get interesting at some point.
We can't. I think that would be ridiculous.
I mean,
I didn't give Fantasia an A plus.
No.
I don't know if you did either.
I think I gave it an A.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I liked all
I think I might have given that an A minus. I think I liked it a little worse than you.
You liked it a little worse.
Or
less?
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah.
I hated it a little much.
But all right, so let me talk a little bit about these features,
okay.
Because this is almost like the holy grail of the Disney features. What I love about these early releases, or recent releases, but of early films,
re-releases,
is they really go through the Disney archives, and they really look at deleted stuff and storyboards and all this.
Oh yeah.
So this movie takes it a step even beyond that. The movie itself is 70 minutes. Instead of having a commentary track, there is an hour and 35-minute sort of side-by-side track where it's not necessarily matching every frame of the movie, but they go in and out of the movie with these meetings. So Walt, starting apparently with Snow White, decided to have a, what do you call that? A stenographer basically dictate all of their meetings.
Huh.
So there were notes beyond notes and conversations beyond conversations of the making of all of these early movies, apparently.
The writer's room and everything.
So what they did for this 2011 release of Bambi is they had actors sort of take the lines, because it wasn't recorded.
Oh.
It was just a stenographer typed it.
It's like in the docs where they kind of they have like somebody reading out the letters.
Correct.
It's like they're reenacting the discussions.
Right. So
that's
they
really
reenact
cool.
the discussions of each piece of the movie as they show it on the thing.
Instead of true crime, it's true movies.
It's true Disney.
Bambi.
True Bambi. And then they put up on the screen like, oh, this is story editor, Joe Blow or whatever. So what I think is so interesting about this is the reason,
That's
really
cool.
why he did it?
Why?
Because he had so many animators and so many people working on the movies, he wanted everybody to be on the same page, but not have to have, hey, everybody, let's have a meeting every single day discussing this, that, and the other.
This sounds like kind of an innovative business practice. This is basically like a group email.
Yeah, but the early days of group email, you could say.
It's a group
so basically,
shared
they all got, I guess,
documents?
a little, a note or documents.
Like everybody this week has like
here's,
this day.
Here's what we talked about in the meeting this week. We think this character should do this, and this person should have this, and whatever. And so, I watched about half of it because I wanted to get to the other features too. But boy, talk about innovative. So that was really cool. That was a cool part of it. And then. So that's all on disc 1 with the movie. Then disc 2 is just nothing but features. Some of them are cool. Some of them I didn't really care for. But the one I didn't like was it only has one trailer on it, which is the original 1942 trailer.
Ooh,
very cool. But as a film buff, I like seeing how they market to each new generation.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really cool thing in the Snow White DVD that this does not have. So that bummed me out.
Instead of multiple trailers, just the one original.
Just the one. There is a 53-minute long featurette about making of Bambi, spread out into segments. One's the characters, one's the art direction, one's the whatever, the costuming, the story, the score. So each one has its own thing. So I watched all of that. Very interesting.
The zoologist.
What's cool is a lot of these people were still alive, because even though. Was that guy there?
I
don't think so. I don't think so.
He didn't work on Bambi?
No, he didn't work on Bambi, I guess. The guy that we talked about.
We're going to bring up
this
guy every time. That guy is the most hardcore guy ever.
He worked from Dumbo to Up.
Chicken Little and
to Up. Up was the last thing he worked on for Pixar, which was 2006, I believe, and
career.
he started in the early 40s with Disney.
Anyway.
What a god. like honestly. But so... there was lots of interviews with that, but one interesting thing was the voices of Bambi, Thumper, and Flower were little kids.
Oh, that makes
obviously
sense.
The different stages.
Good.
So they were young kids when the movie came out, and then they grew up, and so they're still alive to talk about it here.
Nice.
And one thing that was really interesting is the voice of, I think it was Bambi himself, is this dude who was like in Vietnam, I guess, or whatever. And was like, well, I couldn't tell my platoon that I was the voice of Bambi because I was a sergeant. And, they would make fun of me. And he's like, but now it's the proudest thing I've ever done. I can't believe I was part of such a amazing movie. So that was kind of interesting.
Huh.
So there's an 8-minute tour of the Disney Animation Archives. That was cool. That's when we had some animation not used in the film, some background images. They demonstrated the whole multiplane thing, which was cool.
How many cameras did Disney create? That's not the second or third.
That's the second
camera.
one we've already talked about, and it's only the 5th movie. So, the guy was a genius. One thing that bothered me about this video.
Oh no!
So the people that are curating the archive stuff all have the white gloves on.
Okay.
The guy that's telling us about it, who apparently works for Disney and is some sort of historian, was touching the stuff without gloves. I was really mad about it.
This ancient document just disintegrates.
I was like, at least make him wear gloves for the video. Then there's a 7-minute excerpt from, I'm guessing, the Sunday night show that Walt had on TV. It was basically sort of a look back. I guess it was whenever they showed Bambi for the first time on the Wide World of Disney. But he was even demonstrating further the multiplane process with actual multiplanes. And then he had artists design ones just for the show that he could like put Mickey Mouse on, so he could show here's Mickey Mouse like walking towards us, here's Mickey Mouse coming back, here's a moon outside a cabin, and here's when we zoom in, the moon doesn't get any larger, and here's why. It was so fascinating.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love that Walt did that stuff. Okay, but the real gem for me is this Old Mill short.
Okay.
1937, short subject winner at the Academy Awards.
Okay.
Which, by the way, Disney won the first, 12 of.
Well, who else was going to compete?
Right. So, this is the very first use of the multiplane. This is what they sort of designed the multiplane for, to see if it would work. It's listed by historians as one of the top animated films of all time. Miyazaki has named it, The Old Mill, not Bambi, as his favorite Disney film. And
interesting.
Like most shorts at the time, it's only 7 or 8 minutes. Owl is in it, our good friend. But it's basically like storm stuff, and it was, ingenious in its forced perspective and the use of, how they made weather look. I don't know if they did that for the Old Mill, but in Bambi, do you know what the snow was, by the way?
What?
Cornflakes.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
That they painted white.
Painted this. That's. Huh.
Also, here's something I found out from the commentary. The rain that they used in Bambi was reused over and over again by Disney in The Little Mermaid, in Pocahontas.
Really?
The same. I don't think it was the same exact animation, but
like that same
the way it was created, they
that same method
still used almost to this day.
Huh.
Yeah, 50, 60 years later.
That's
so there's so much interesting stuff on these things.
Wow.
Yeah, one of the Disney animators got arrested for laying down on the concrete and looking up in a rainstorm because the cops thought he was crazy, and he was like, "No, I'm trying to get a perspective of how rain looks to the eyeball coming down." Like, these guys were serious.
It's like,
there's rides at Disney related to this Old Mill short. There was a Simpsons parody on the Old Mill.
Well, of course there is.
Well, that's true, but I mean,
Simpsons has their hand on everything.
How many Disney shorts get parodied?
Not many.
Characters, yes.
Between the Simpsons and Miyazaki, obviously you've got Groening and Miyazaki animation gods like,
and it won the Academy Award for Best Short Subject at the time.
Check out the Old Mill.
So that is on here too. I am going to let you borrow this. Yeah, I think you would really enjoy a lot of the features on there.
It sounds interesting. Really interesting, actually.
Watching it was probably more enjoyable, maybe, to me than the movie itself, just because
sounds like it.
Just because it was so fascinating. I'm going to give the package an A+. I almost gave it an A because I wish there were more trailers on there, but in terms of the guy with the gloves really bummed me out. But in terms of just sort of from a film lover's perspective, there is so many just really cool techniques that they pioneered with this movie that they go into such detail with. And the whole, the meeting stenographer, how that was really cool. So I'm going to give the package an A+, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So, all right, so that's the latest of the Disney projects. Next up, we're going to talk about the Three Caballeros. I'm not sure if you'll join me for that or not.
Maybe.
But very soon after this video goes up, I suppose, will be the premiere of Disney Plus, which they have released like the whole list of all that stuff, and a lot of it does date back to the old. I mean, they're going to have Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs on there, and they're going to have a lot of the old movies for people to check out. So these movies that we're talking about, even if they're currently in the Disney vault, you'll be able to catch them.
You did a recent video with your TV news and reviews. You have Disney Plus, right? You're going to get
it? Yes, I've already got my subscription for the first 3 years.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you think there's anything related to this for like a sub mini video or something, you think I could chime in on?
Okay, yeah.
Even if I don't have it, but if you want to talk about some Star Wars or something, and you think that I would like to talk about The Mandalorian or something, or a Marvel show,
you'll check it out.
Because you have Disney Plus?
Yeah.
Yes,
come on over and we'll watch it or whatever.
We'll try to do something like
So, all right, so that's it for this. Yeah, I mean, it'll be actually really easy. I mean, I've been collecting through the Disney Movie Club all of these old, even like the live action ones from the 50s and 60s. I've been trying to collect all of those. I still will probably try to just because I like my DVD collection, but it won't be so weird for you guys, the viewers, to be able to seek something out. Like if I do a review on, Wagons Ho or something, or whatever, some of those old movies, it'll be a lot easier to seek out now because of Disney Plus.
We'll be getting Disney Plus.
Yeah,
right? It'll
which
be
I think
easy
is cool
to follow along with your stuff.
Yeah, and in fact, the Reluctant Dragon is going to be on there,
of course.
Which is pretty scarce on the DVD Blu-ray market. So
did you upload that yet?
No, I just recorded it last night. So
okay, because I will watch it because I'm most curious. I don't know about you guys, but I'm most curious about what that dragon was so reluctant about. What's this reluctant about? Is it revealed?
Do you want me to tell you? Yeah, it's revealed.
No, I watched the video.
Okay, you watched the video.
I'll find a video. I'll watch
Okay. Yeah. But anyway, all right. So that will do it for now. I will be back with Dan Does Disney. Maybe with you, maybe not with Three Caballeros. But other than that, yeah. All the news and reviews stuff on my channel, the Connors, this, that, and the other thing. You've got a lot of sourcing on your channel now too. You've got a lot of ideas going.
Little update for anybody that cares. I had a bit of a technical issue. My computer kind of died on me. I lost some stuff. I lost some videos, some Drinkable Alchemy stuff.
That sucks.
Last couple podcasts we did. Lost
no, our Coming to America show.
Coming to America one I lost.
And the one I don't mind talking about that anytime.
No, we'll talk about that again. And the So Bad It's Good Movies conversation we had, which I really liked. But we'll talk about that again.
Yeah.
But I lost that. But I got some new drivers installed, so things are good.
So we're back on track, ready to rock and roll.
Because I guess I'll tell you this: I'm gonna get back to Joe Loves Movies.
Good.
So I got those. I got a new segment, which Flamethrowers in Cinema,
Love
which
that.
is kind of silly, but I'm having fun with those. And obviously podcasts once in a while. And I am in the process of editing my third movie,
Nice.
Merlin's Productions, which is a sort of a documentary, mockumentary sort of thing about my previous films. So, it's been quite a process of editing. And else. So
I bet
I've been busy over there.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like every other day you've got a new video, which is cool because that's kind of where my channel is at this point. Like 2-3 videos a week I'm putting up, which is very rare.
That's good.
But I like it. I'm glad. So so check out Merlin the Mighty and keep subscribing to my channel. We always love that. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.